Well, hello, friends. How are you? Hello, Beth. Hello, Crochetter. Hello, Dee. How is everyone? I've been gone for a while, but I'm back. Been working on a very, very time-consuming project. And so I decided to give the project a rest for an hour or two and come here and stream because we actually have content to discuss. So it's good to see everyone. Now, before we get started, I wanted to address a couple of things. And the first thing is, back when I was blogging 20 years ago, I had made this comment on my blog. I made a blog post that said exactly this. And that is that when I post something, like, and now that I'm streaming, I'm on camera, I can see everybody. Hi Lynn, how are you? Hi Silvile. When I turn on this camera and I go live, I am inviting you into my home. Not the whole home, obviously, just one room. And that's how I was when I was blogging. When I was blogging, I was basically, hi Amber, I was inviting the audience into my living room because that's where I was blogging at the time. When I turn this camera on, I'm inviting you into my office. So I'm basically inviting you into my home. The relationship, hi Artem, hi Nietzsche, the relationship between myself and the audience would be different if I wasn't on camera, but I am. As such, if I'm going to invite you into my home, then it is up to me to decide who gets to stay and who goes. If somebody came into my home, if somebody walked through the front door and came to an event I was hosting, a party, a dinner, whatever, and started talking shit about anybody in my family, I would ask them to leave. I would escort them out. And that's how I feel about streaming. If I invite you into my home and we're going to watch something together and we're going to have a conversation, if I find out that you have been going around talking shit about my family, and then you want to come into my chat and try to trick me and suck up to me, then you are going to be escorted out. Hi, Andy. Oh, it's good to see you. Good to see you, Angela. Very good to see you. I don't play these games with people. I'm not here to make friends, and I am not here to build numbers just for the sake of building numbers so that I can have numbers on a leaderboard. Sure, we've been doing a subathon because we are trying to get to a certain number of subs. That doesn't mean, though, that I'm going to take every stray in, from the street. I'm not going to do it. So my point is that I have the ultimate say, the ultimate discretion in who gets to stay and who goes. That's all I'm saying. So, hi, Aunt. It's good to see you. Hi, Anna. And I think that that's perfectly reasonable. It's just a rule that I've had ever since I started sharing my thoughts on the internet 20 years ago. It's just the way it is. All right. There are plenty of channels, an abundance of channels, with very large communities of people who dislike me, dislike Negs, dislike the family, dislike the store, dislike this, dislike the channel, whatever. You are more than welcome then to show yourselves out and go to those channels, where nobody is going to restrict anything that you say, no matter how many lies you're told, no matter how vicious, cruel, or slanderous what you have to say may be. That is not this channel. This channel is not going to tolerate that shit. That is the ruling from the chair. All right. The second thing is, this morning, hi Sarah, I watched Peanut's stream. And, I'm going to say the regular thing that one says about a stopped clock and so on. I switched the stream off when she started pontificating about my relationship with Negs, about which she knows absolutely fucking nothing. Hi, AK. Not that AK. It's AKA. It's a different one. This is the nice one. It's good to see you. And she was reviewing a stream that Yaba did about me that was very, very funny. I thought it was funny. Not ha-ha funny, but just funny in an ironic sort of way. And in it, Yaba, hi there, hello. Yaba had posted a tweet or two tweets that I had sent out because Sam and Yaba decided to tweet out a picture of Sam's daughter, the one who was arrested. It's a very sad story. I'm not going to go over it again. Hey, Rachel, good to see you. And they were talking about how the daughter's mugshot was booty. So I tweeted out that my mother was proud of me when I got into Brown and I got a job at ABC, which really pissed Yaba off. And I saw a comment that I thought was very appropriate, which is that Yaba and Sam are both extremely jealous, bitter, and resentful of anyone who has something that they don't, which is basically everybody. And she is particularly mad at people who have an education, people who have had a career, people who didn't throw their lives away being married to ain't shit men and pumping out babies with them, people who have really warm, loving ties to family members, especially mothers. So, hi Joe. Hi Emrys. So Yaba tried to turn it into a race thing because of Sam's beautiful biracial children, right? And saying that I was allowing my white privilege to show when I was showing off my accomplishments, and saying that my mother was proud of me when I accomplished those things, those milestones. No, it's not white privilege. It isn't. You know what it is? It is good parenting and hard work privilege, Yaba. This is something that you wouldn't understand. All right? When you have two parents in your life who have very, very high standards for your accomplishments and what they expect from you, and they don't let up, and they don't allow you to run wild in the street, and they have made it abundantly clear that teenage pregnancy is out of the question. They have made it abundantly clear that failing out of school is not an option. And they have made it abundantly clear that you are expected to get at the very least, a 4-year college degree. You obey. And you are going to be given all the support you need in order to achieve what they think you are capable of. I know that, again, I know you can't relate to any of that, Yaba. I know that. I was not allowed to grow up feral the way you were. I was not allowed to run around with ain't shit men. I wasn't allowed to get knocked up as a teenager, however old you were, by some pedophile. That was not acceptable in my household. I don't think it's acceptable in most immigrant households. I'm just saying. So I had the privilege of being raised properly by two parents who actually loved me. And in order to guide me, were very strict with the way that I was brought up. And I worked my ass off in high school, and then I worked to get into Brown, and then I worked to finally graduate, even though I came across some pitfalls along the way. I did graduate from college, and I did end up working in TV, even though I didn't have a communications or a journalism degree. And I did end up with the job of my dreams, working in ABC's political unit. It was either that or Nightline. Those were my two goals, and I met one. But it had nothing to do with white privilege. It had to do with hard work privilege. It's amazing, really, how your privilege increases the harder you work, and the less willingness you show to veer off because of temptations that are available to teenagers and young people. It's amazing how much luckier you get the harder you work. That's what I can say. So And yeah, Capone is right. Jewish families place a huge premium on education. And I was privileged to grow up in that setting, not because of money, not because of skin color, nothing like that. I grew up in a household with a father who barely spoke English, and who made something of himself, and a mother who had her foot on my neck all the time because I was expected to achieve certain things by certain ages and certain dates. That's how I was raised. Clearly, again, Yaba, you cannot relate, and neither can Sam. That is not my problem. But if you want to drag race into it, I'm going to drag how much luckier I got the harder I worked. In a very, very competitive media market, one of the most competitive media markets in the world, where I came in without having a famous last name. I was not related to anyone at the network. I didn't come through a journalism program where somebody could stick me in a job. I worked my ass off, and that's how I made it. Again, something that people like Yaba and Sam don't understand. What language did he speak? His first language was Spanish, but there were 5 languages spoken in my home. All right. If my grandmother was around, and I was very, very young when she died, my grandmother would speak in Russian when she didn't want anybody to understand her, because she too was an immigrant to Argentina. And so her first language was Russian, and she learned Spanish in Argentina. My parents were born in Argentina, so the primary language spoken in my house was Spanish, which is why I speak so many different languages. All right. Now, wow, okay, ban. Anyway, I love it when a wild anti-Semite pops up into chat. Hey, Tank Girl, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I have a couple of videos that I wanted to show you guys that I thought would be very entertaining. OLOPP, who used to be a member in good standing with the support group, was cast out like Adam and Eve from the garden. I don't know what her sin was. It doesn't even matter, does it? It can be anything at this point. So OLOPP dug up some old GoFundMes that Calorie posted. And Calorie did a live stream today, which I am not going to play because it was incomprehensible. And I'm sure that Hecate is going to do a fantastic job of reviewing it and taking it apart, because she is unmatched when it comes to that kind of thing. And plus, the response that Calorie had to OLOPP was an incomprehensible word salad, very much the way that Sam pushes back. And it was very, very funny. Now, people may wonder, what does it matter if Calorie posted a bunch of GoFundMes? Well, I will explain why it matters. It matters because Sam and Yaba, for whom she simps like crazy, and to whom she donates money quite frequently, along with Frenchie, have appointed themselves as the unofficial gatekeepers of the community when it comes to GoFundMe scams. The thing that you will notice, though, about Sam and Yaba and the way that they police GoFundMes in the community is they always target people who are running legitimate GoFundMes or people who have legitimate needs. And then they completely cast aside their supporters who are running grifts, open grifts. They went after little Rosie, who was actually dying of cancer, which was something that they tried to prove was not true until the poor woman dropped dead. They went after little Mama's widower, who was left with 5 children after his wife committed suicide. And they basically accused the man of running some kind of a grift. They decided to go the extra mile and call the sheriff's office and call around to determine if the woman was actually dead, because God forbid anybody die in this community without, funeral homes being contacted, sheriffs being contacted, obituaries being read, all kinds of things being speculated about. And they went after Negs over the GoFundMe for his child's funeral, which was not a GoFundMe that was set up by him and to which he had absolutely no access. So these were all legitimate GoFundMes that they decided to highlight as grifts. And I do want to point out that, not to mention, bridging the gap, not to mention Sam's multiple pleas for money under very, very suspicious circumstances. I do want to point out, though, that when little mama died, I didn't know who she was. I had never watched her videos. I hadn't been keeping up with that drama. I was up to my ass in alligators. I wasn't interested in people who were in the community, who were reactors and that kind of thing. But the circumstances surrounding the way that her widower was attacked did draw my attention. I did a stream. I think it was on my old YouTube channel. I made a decision not to monetize that stream because I didn't want to exploit that woman's death and I didn't want to exploit that man's suffering. I shared the GoFundMe and I donated to it. So when it came to little mama, I walked the walk, just to let everybody know. Now, Clara has been exposed as a multiple GoFundMe starter. And I thought that we might watch OLOPP's videos. And I will try to fill you in as best as I can with Clara's response to this discovery. Even though she changed the subject about 1,000 times, I didn't know what the hell she was saying most of the time, but I think I kind of got the gist, even though it was very, very hard to follow. All right. And so here's OLOPP's video. Let's watch it. Oops. Can I just say, there's the name on the book. You can order a sample from Amazon because she's self-published. The book, the excerpt that I read was horrendous. The grammar, the punctuation were horrendous. The sentence structure was terrible. And I'm sorry, but self-publishing, sure, I guess it makes you an author of a kind. I mean, anybody can write a bunch of random words on a piece of paper. Does that make them an author? No, I don't think so. But the book is, again, based on the excerpt that I read, the book is unreadable. It is terrible. And I find it hilarious that she's so proud of being self-published with this horrendous, poorly written collection of words. But anyway. Hey, Maddie. Okay. If you've been following my chronicles on Twitter and see again in the first sentence we have a grammatical error. That is a rogue apostrophe. Chronicles is plural. You do not need an apostrophe. That's actually one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate rogue apostrophes. They drive me fucking crazy. All right. If you have been following my chronicles on Twitter, you know that for several years I've been dealing with a rough home situation. Having a parent with severe NPD, with threats of suicide, emotional manipulation, it's been hard. Again, the grammar. Let me correct it. Having a parent with severe NPD, with threats of suicide, emotional manipulation, period. It's been hard. Or, I have a parent with severe NPD, with threats of emotional manipulation, period. It's been hard. I'm trying to help, Kalari. I mean, you're the one who calls yourself an author, but I was a professional writer. I actually got paid money to write, so I'm trying to help. I have an out, but I need help covering expenses towards getting her moved out of my life so that I can breathe again. All right. I have an out, comma, but I need help covering expenses towards getting her moved out of my life so I can breathe, so that I can breathe again. All right. Please give what you can. My health and sanity thanks you. No, my health and sanity thank you. Health and sanity. That's two. Thank you. My health and sanity thank you. I am trying to help. I am trying to help. I want everybody to understand that. So in one short paragraph, we have run into how many grammatical errors? It's really quite extraordinary. All right. As far as the Tesla is concerned, I don't believe the Tesla exists. I'm going to have proof that the Tesla exists, and I'd like to know where that Tesla came from. Because, Calorie, you ran multiple Gofundmes over a very short period of time, and I'd like to know how it is that you and your husband or partner, or whatever he is, came into such an expensive car and how you can afford to maintain it. All right. And you can afford a Tesla, but you can't afford to fix your teeth. I'm going to keep on returning to this point because it makes no sense. Let's continue. Oh, I see
nice
bagels.
And cool out here is the fact that I got some people who seemingly want my attention for some reason. They seem to think that constantly trying to call me out and using their Trojan whale to talk mad shit about me and my life, my accomplishments, and everything that makes me happy.
All right. Can I also make another suggestion, Kalari? You desperately need to buy a gimbal. If you are going to be doing walking, filming videos, you desperately need to buy a gimbal. The way that the camera is swaying side to side is nausea-inducing. I feel like I am in an earthquake. Now, again, well, Donna, you're familiar with the Trojan horse? The horse, the hollow horse that the Greeks rolled up to the gates of Troy, and the Greek soldiers hid inside, so that when the Trojans opened the gate to receive the gift, the Greek soldiers came out and ran amok around the city. So the Trojan whale, I don't know what the Trojan horse has to do with, I don't know what the fuck the Trojan horse has to do with Chantal, but okay. All right. Let's continue.
It's somehow going to make me become like her, maybe. And I think that's your goal. Because you know the heifer is on her last limbs. You know she's being defiant to her demise. And I know that a few of you have a history of going after people who are melanated on this app.
Oh, here we go, the race card.
Build our communities. And you like to talk mad shit about us. You like to try to run us off, too. Because you think that you have a right to our success.
Okay, I want you to remember those words. Our success. Our success. Leading one to believe that the property that she is waddling around at the moment was purchased by her and her husband because they did so well in business. We're about to find out a very, very different story, and indeed, Calorie changed the story today during her live stream. There is nothing shady about the way that this property ended up with her and her husband, partner, whatever the hell he is. There's nothing shady about it. It is above board as far as we know for now. Okay. However, it's the way that she flexes the land, the house, the Tesla, everything that they own, and makes it seem like it was something that she came into because they worked hard, they made a lot of money, they bought this property, and the property is a symbol of how well they did in business. Let's continue. That's the impression she's giving. That's all I'm saying. Oop.
Trying to call me out and using their Trojan whale to talk mad shit about me and my life, my accomplishments, and everything that makes me happy. It's somehow gonna make me become like her, maybe. And I think that's your goal. Because you know the heifer is on her last limbs. You know she's being defiant to her demise.
Hi, SARS.
And I know that a few of you
Hey, Egg.
have a history of going after people who are melanated on this app.
Oh, here we go.
Who do the thing, build our communities. And you like to talk mad shit about us.
Really? Well, speaking of melanated content creators and who goes after them, you know, do you remember, Calorie, how Sam and Yaba went after Callie and tried to drive her to a nervous breakdown? Remember how Sam and Yaba went after Callie's melanated uncle? Remember that? Remember how they called him Big Homie? Or Sam did anyway. Thank you, Bagels. Thank you so much. That is so generous. Thank you so much for your kindness. And I hope that the people who got memberships enjoy them. And welcome to all of you. It's good to have you as part of the Attic crew or whatever the hell I called it. What did I call it? I don't remember. All right. All right. So, remember how they did that to Callie? I remember that. Remember how they went after her family? I remember that. Remember how they bragged that they had driven Callie off the internet? I remember that. Remember how they called her a grifter and a liar? I remember that. I remember all of it. The fact that, Callie and I fell out has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the fact that Sam and Yaba drove Callie around the fucking bend and did it on purpose. But sure, go ahead and tell us about how people responding to your bullshit is going after melanated content creators. It's just ridiculous. Always trying to play the race card from the bottom of the deck. And it has nothing to do with your race. And I just wanted to point one thing out, Kalari. Nobody wants you to leave YouTube. Nobody is trying to strike your channel. Nobody's trying to take away your monetization or lure away your audience or trying to undermine you or trying to ruin you in real life. Nobody is doing that to you. You have a big mouth. You go out there. You poke at people. You stir the pot, you simp for some of the worst content creators in the community, and then when there's a response to you, you get all huffy about it and play the race card. No, ma'am, it doesn't work like that. Let's continue.
You like to try to run us off, too, because you think that you have a
Hi,
right
Jen.
to our success.
Long time no see.
You don't try to actually network with people. You use your chats like they are attack dogs.
You know who does that,
at
right?
People on severely personal levels when it should just be a back and forth beef. None of you stand by what you say.
That's amazing. She has just described Sam, Yaba, and Frenchie to a T. That's exactly what they do. They go below the belt. They contact people's families. They contact people's schools. They contact funeral homes. They contact sheriffs. They contact teachers. They contact friends. They contact everybody in your real life. They contact moms. And actually, somebody pointed something out. I think it may have been Peanut. I'm not sure. You notice how when Sam wants to hold people accountable, she calls their mom. Sam desperately wants a mother in her life. Too bad that you don't have one. But I'm just saying that she thinks that adult human beings should be scolded by their parents because it's the parents' fault if somebody on the platform is doing something that Sam feels is untowards. But if you ever criticize her kids' behavior, it's all because of society. They're depraved on account of they're deprived, in the words of West Side Story. And it has nothing to do with her parenting. She bears no responsibility, and neither does her ex-husband. But everybody else, every other adult, they have to be held accountable by their parents, no matter how old they are. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the justifications that she finds to call people's family members is really something, but that's something that you approve of, Kalari. This is something that doesn't bother you, which is why you simp so hard for them and why you super chat them. Let's continue.
About anybody, but you seem to think that you're better than all of us. So as I walk the sheer scale of my property to show you what, after 40, taking my time, actually saving, not squandering all
you see?
all the good that I put in with my partner, to where we got 5 fucking acres of literal land.
Okay, not squandering and saving. So she is giving the impression that they saved up money for a down payment and that they bought this place because of their industriousness and their success in life. That is the impression. Meanwhile, what does this say? Our grandfather Carl brought this land. It's bought this land. Jesus Christ, here we go again. Years ago, as a way for animals to have a safe place. Have you seen a single animal on this property? I have not. Cats, dogs, and horses, none of which we've seen a trace of, called this land home along with him. Sadly, Carl is now ill with dementia. Okay, so it was somebody's grandfather's property. One of the two, Kalari or the partner. A disease that has affected many lives and our family, many lives, comma, and our family is now experiencing the pain of having a loved one suffering with it. Due to this, his home and animal sanctuary are now at risk. We wish to continue caring for Carl in his home and preserving his legacy by keeping his rescued animals where they've found a loving home. Where are the animals, Kalari? What did you do with them? Why don't we see any animals on this property? But we don't have the money. If we can pay what we need to pay the bank, we can continue to keep this land the way Grandpa Carl wants it. He can no longer understand what is going on around him, but I know he would want to continue to have his land be used towards keeping animals safe. Okay, well, there are no animals on the land. We appreciate any help given towards this goal. Okay, so apparently it wasn't just scrimping and saving and industriousness and being wise with your money. You started a GoFundMe. Now, the way that she described it was that when this man died, there was some kind of a dispute about who was entitled to inherit it. And she and her partner took out a mortgage and they bought the property. Okay, fine. Fair enough. Fair enough. Then why did you need a GoFundMe? If you took out a mortgage, why the hell did you need a GoFundMe? I don't get it. And more than anything, where are the animals? Where did the animals go? This is what I want to know.
That is ours, that we can call ours. I want you to remember this, Chantal. And as you make fun of my exercise, which at least I can do, as you mock the book that I published, and the second one's coming out, so thank you for the
God
free
forbid.
promo. As you throw
Thanks for the
other
warning.
creators who I don't fuck with under the bus, because you could never do what I do. Here we are.
Oh, I hear a dog
at
barking.
the line of my home.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot of forested. Like I
Okay.
said, we bought the land because it's a lot to work with. And that is just the front of it.
Okay.
We have the hill that's starting that we were thinking about making a cottage with. It is going to be lovely. But getting back to my point about you, Chantal, You want to talk shit about me because I'm the anti-you. Yeah, I'm still a thick girl. I
Thick,
never
huh?
said different. I never tried to fake that front. But what I do is I show people that you don't have to give up. I am 7 years older than you, girl. And yet, instead of thinking about your future and your dreams and any goals, you lay in a hotel room in Thailand talking mad shit about somebody who's willing to get out here. You don't think I got social anxiety? You don't think crowds still freak me out? You know what I did? I decided to live someplace where there's peace, where there's quiet,
Uh-huh.
most of the time, without the neighbor's dog going nuts.
Oh, that's the neighbor's dog. Okay.
My thing is, this land that me and my husband have been fortunate enough to have access to through savings and everything else we did over the years is a blessing. It is.
No, I'm sorry. Look, if you inherit something or you're given first crack at buying it because the property was in the family, I still don't know how the hell she came into this property. All that I know is that this man died, the animals are gone, and they took out a mortgage and they purchased it, but clearly there was some, and again, she mentioned that there were other relatives who thought that they could lay a claim to the property, and they didn't, and they did what a million other people do, but they got lucky. They got lucky because the property was already in the family. It was already in the family. Again, yeah, that's what she said. That's what she has said out of her own mouth. So, you know that not everybody wants to live in the middle of nowhere on such a large piece of land, right? You know, some people aren't cut out for that kind of life. You know, some people want to live in an urban environment. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with living on 5 acres or whatever she and her partner live on. Why is it that just because you own something that you think that everybody wants it? This is the thing that I find so funny. These women who come online and they're like, oh, you're just jealous. You're jealous of everything. The only thing that I do, that Kalari has, that I do covet or that I admire, I don't covet it because I'm not that petty, but I do admire, are the beautiful wooden floors in the house. They have gorgeous floors in the house. Stunning. Very, very well kept, very shiny. Apart from that, I mean, I'm sorry, but this property does not look like anything that, I mean, good for you, I guess. But not everybody wants to live in such a remote location. Now, if it was an animal sanctuary, that would be different, but I don't see a single animal anywhere. And again, if you were in line to inherit the property and you took out a mortgage, why did you need a GoFundMe? Why? I don't understand. And there was no really convincing explanation given in her live stream today.
It's something that you could have had if you wanted it. But you need quick dopamine hits. You need people in your life that enables your bad. Because you don't know what good is. You can say whatever the hell you want about me. You can talk about my visible dental damage that I show.
Yeah.
You can talk about the fit bongs, which you all watch and apparently think it's content. Good. Thank you for the views. But what you can't ever say.
Wait, let me just go back a little bit. Is that the house? Is that the house? You realize that not everybody would want to live in a house like that, right? Now, if it suits you, then good for you. That's good. You know, it's good to own property. It's good to own land. It's good to own something. To have your name on a deed. Absolutely, no question. But, I mean, the way she describes it, it makes it sound like she lives in Terra, you know? Like she's Scarlett O'Hara going out and surveying her property. I mean, lady, come on. It's a very, very modest home. It's very, very modest. And not everybody would want to live in that house. Let's just be realistic. If this is in fact the house, I'm guessing it is.
Thank you for the views. But what you can't ever say is that your life is better. Not by a long shot. You weren't even smart enough to do your visa runs properly. You weren't even smart enough to say, hey, this is my life.
No animals.
Let me make a content. You even recognize that people watch you sometimes just to laugh at you.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sorry. I can't indulge in your self-imposed misery. Because as you can see, as we look at the land that's cleared out for where our dream house is going to go.
Oh, that's where the house is going to be.
We're going to put a pool. This life out here is peaceful. I don't have any reason to be jealous of you.
Uh-huh.
My life is not a competition with yours. I don't care about you that deeply. I call out your content.
You know, that fucking OLOPP, man, that apple is so goddamn shady. And I would say that, Kalari, that is where Chantal has one up on you. She can't eat an apple. And somebody, please explain to me how it is that these two can afford a Tesla. Have you seen a Tesla? I haven't seen a Tesla anywhere. Don't you think that that with the way that they discuss their Tesla and they show off about it and flex about it, that's something that she would feature in a video where she was trying to show off to Chantal and the community? Where is the Tesla? Where is it? I want to see it. I want to see it. Show me how much better you are than me, Calorie. Show me. And I want to see you getting in and out of that Tesla, too. Oh, look, there's a cat. There's a cat. So there's, is that all that's left of the animal sanctuary?
Sometimes you have to be a little petty, because I didn't think it was a
Oh my
flex,
God,
and
the
I said
sock
I
video.
didn't
Look at those
think it was
floors.
a flex. I was just bringing up the fact that some
The
of
floors
us
are
can do this.
fantastic.
We can lean forward. We don't have to contort ourselves. No balance issues, none of that stuff, like sitting on the couch having to literally contort yourself. And like I said, I'm not acting like it's still 100% easy to do, but when I was 500 pounds, I couldn't do that.
All right, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they are. And in California, you also have a ton of charging stations. Driving a Tesla is, look, not only are they incredibly expensive, all right, not only is a Tesla a car that you have to kind of buy a la carte, like all of those zippy cool features that you hear about, that it can go, you know, it's some supersonic speed in a nanosecond, like the Batmobile or whatever. You have to pay extra for all that. It doesn't come automatically. You buy the car and then you have to do all these add-ons, which are very expensive. And I learned this from watching that Boogie video, where he said, I guess, that the car that he would have been interested in buying would have cost something like $100,000. It's preposterous. It's ridiculous. And again, I don't know how many charging stations there are around Michigan, but it's not a practical car. It's just not a practical car. And also, my understanding is that they're not great cars to drive in cold weather. And that's probably one of the reasons why Jeffree Star doesn't drive one anymore. He used to drive one in California, but when he moved to Wyoming, I noticed that the Tesla went the way of the dinosaur. I may be wrong, but I've never seen him driving a Tesla around the ranch. He always drives a truck or something practical with his pink AR-15. Which is amazing. I would never own a Tesla. Never. Never. I would never own an electric car, full stop. They sound cool. They sound interesting. They sound like a great idea. They're a status symbol. They are as quiet. You can't hear the engine. It's amazing. I remember when Jeffree Star used to film himself driving around in that pink Tesla when he lived in Calabasas. And it was beautiful. It was great. But they're not for everywhere in the country. And they're just not practical. They're not. That is one of the reasons why I call them an expensive toy for the rich. They're just not practical vehicles. Oh, okay, so I'm right about that. Okay, well, there you go. There you go. Where is the Tesla, Kalari? Where is it? I want to see it. All right, so since we're talking about homes, and we're talking about, oh, and I did not want to drop this subject without bringing up the following. This is not the only GoFundMe that Clara has run. I mean, if it had just been one GoFundMe a few years ago, you'd say, okay, well, people run up on hard times and they needed to pay off liens or taxes or I don't know, whatever on the property. I get it. Or they needed to come up with a down payment, or they needed to relocate the animals. And out of the $50,000 goal, I think they only raised about $3,000. So I don't know what happened to the animals. I have no idea. But I would like an answer to that question as well. It's not the only GoFundMe that she did, though. She also ran a GoFundMe when she got a tummy flu. And the way she explained it in her stream today was, well, because I knew I was going to be out of commission for a few weeks and I wanted to raise money because I didn't want my partner to shoulder the entire burden of the mortgage or whatever on his own. So I decided to do a GoFundMe. Who is down and out for weeks with a stomach virus? Usually those things come and go, you know. So I'm not getting that. I don't understand. Hey, Game Vibes. How you doing? It's good to see you. And then there were other GoFundMes. There were multiple GoFundMes and not a peep out of Sam and Yaba. Not a peep. Not a peep. The ones who always love to blather about the grift gang, right? And they just made her a mod. I wonder why. I just want to tell you, Kalari, that running multiple GoFundMes in a very short period of time and then turning around and super chatting as much as you do to creators is not a good look. It's just not a good look. I know you're not making any money off of your book, so stop that. I don't think your channel is bringing in a lot of money. So it's just bad, okay? It's a bad vibe. And people are noticing it. But I want to say yet again, nobody wants you off the platform. Nobody is going to strike you. Nobody's going to come after you. Nobody's going to show up at your house. Nobody's going to threaten you. Nobody's going to do any of that shit. We are just laughing, Kalari. We're laughing because you are so lacking in self-awareness that it's funny. It's funny. But you cannot be a crybaby on the platform. You cannot throw rocks and then hide your hands and say, I don't understand, or they're doing it because I'm black. No, it's because you're a lol cow. I mean, is it normal for a woman who has no teeth to go out and brag about owning a Tesla? I think that's insane. It is hilarious to me. It's hilarious. But no, nobody... No, not at all. Not at all. No, nobody cares enough to do that. Why would anybody want you to leave? I think Hecate, and I'm going to throw my 2 cents in along with Hecate. We don't want you going anywhere, Kalari. We want you staying exactly where you are because your content is hilarious. So no, nobody wants you to go. So stop. All right. All right, now I have another video that I found, okay, because I fell down the interior design rabbit hole. I am now getting a lot of videos recommended to me that are uploaded by real estate agents. So I'm getting a lot of like housing, decor, trending stuff, and how to look out for a good home and what to avoid when you're looking for a home. And I thought, well, since we are talking about homes today, we can watch a video that was done by this very feisty real estate agent. Again, that the algorithm suggested, and I became obsessed, and I sat around while I was working on my project yesterday. I watched multiple videos of hers in a row because her vibe is hilarious to me. Now, this is also going to be a good and interesting kind of lesson. I hate to make it sound like I'm a school marm, but it's going to be educational for those of you who are in the audience who do not live in the United States. Okay, so you may not be familiar with what a homeowners association is. Homeowners associations are what they sound like, homeowners associations. They are organizations that oversee housing, clusters of different types of housing. So whether you live in a condominium building, whether you live in a planned community, a gated community, they're everywhere. And they're very, very prevalent in Florida, especially. In a lot of cities where you find a lot of retirees, you will find homeowners associations, but it's not limited to the Sun Belt or the South or anything. They're everywhere. I had a homeowners association at my condo in DC. And it was because of that experience that I swore that I would never, ever live in another property that was controlled by a homeowners association ever again. Because the problem with the homeowners association is you pay a fee, a monthly fee, and then the board decides what the money is going to be spent on. They will spend it on things like landscaping, taking care of the grass, shoveling snow if you live in a cold climate, taking care of the pool if there's a pool, things of that nature. But the problem is that these homeowners associations wield an enormous, enormous amount of power. And as a result, you could find yourself fucked over very, very hard. The other thing is that when it comes to the fees that you pay these homeowners associations, there are no price controls. So they can keep raising these fees to obscene levels until you find that if you're on a fixed income, for example, or if you're a young couple, that you can no longer afford to live in your own home because you cannot afford the monthly fee. As a matter of fact, when Negs went to Florida and he was in Melbourne, we were considering relocating to Florida. We were thinking about moving out of Indiana and going down to Florida. And he was talking to real estate agents, and I told him the number one rule, the one thing that you have to tell each and every one of these real estate agents, and they need to understand this very, very clearly, we are not interested in purchasing a property under a homeowners association. No HOAs. Under any circumstances. Under any circumstances. And the real estate agents have to be told this because they're in the business of making money by selling you shit, right? And their assumption is that if you've never lived under a homeowners association, that you don't realize how bad they are. And in Florida, they are particularly bad. But we're going to be seeing some examples of how out of control these HOAs can get, which is exactly why never again for the rest of my life will I ever live in a property that is governed in any way by a homeowners association. So, no, Vicky, it's funny. I was not living in such a restrictive space like that. Columbia, Maryland is like that. In Columbia, Maryland, they have very, very strict rules about what you can put on your deck, what color, you can paint your house, what color, everything. Everything is regulated down to the letter, right? At my HOA, no, they were just annoying and they spent money very, very unwisely. And that's the other problem. You pay them a monthly fee and then the board decides what the money gets spent on. And it can be something totally outrageous. All the tenants can say, or all the owners will say, we don't want our money going to that. And it doesn't matter. They're not democratic. They're very, very dictatorial organizations. So let's see what this lady has to say.
Would you want to live like this? Do you want somebody telling you that you can't have your artificial vegetation in your yard to make your yard look better, look pretty?
Oh dear, outside, never mind.
Yeah, I bet you don't want that. This is another installment of my Never Buy series, and in this video, I'm going to tell you reasons why you should never buy a home that's in an HOA.
Never.
So let's get started. Okay, before I dive into this, I do want to say that the reason why I make these videos and I say never buy, it's to make you aware of the downfalls, the potential downfalls of what could happen if you were to buy a certain type of house or a condo or a manufactured home. I'm not here to tell you you should never buy anything. I'm getting a lot of comments lately of people saying, oh, so you're telling us we should never buy and we should just rent or live at home with our parents for the rest of our lives? I'm not saying that. I make these videos to help educate you, to prepare you for what to look for when you're buying a home. When
She's
you're
really
looking at
good, by the
purchasing
way.
a home or a condo, or if you're going to
Her
buy a home
channel
in an
is in the
HOA,
description
you need to
box.
be aware of all the things, at negative and positive. So that's why I make these videos. Again, it's to help you, the consumer, make a good, educated decision on your real estate purchase. So anyway, just wanted to get that little explanation out of the way. Let's get into the reasons why you should never buy a home in an HOA. But again, no hate to HOAs, just pointing some issues out.
I hate them.
The first reason is the excessive fees and assessments. Now, Florida has been seeing this issue a lot in the past year or two.
Yep.
And
Oh,
most
longer
of
than
these
that.
reasons are stemming from that collapse that happened of the Surfside condominium building back in June of 2021, where unfortunately 98 people perished. Florida has now put in a state law that's requiring any condo building that's older than 30 years old, taller than 3 stories, they have to go through inspections. And now these HOAs have to build up their reserves to prepare for these inspections and potential repairs that are going to need to be made. So now homeowners in these condos are being slapped with these assessments for tens of thousands of dollars. Here's a little news clip of a gentleman that lives in South Florida, and listen to what he's been hit with as far as his assessment fees.
Howard Konitz never thought he'd be in this situation at 79 years old.
We can't afford it. We can't afford it. We're going to go broke.
Konitz and his wife Sheila have lived in their 2-bedroom, 2-bath Williams Island condo for 10 years. The retired couple had their financial future all planned out.
Elevator modernization.
That was until they were recently hit with a special assessment.
The total assessment for the apartment we're sitting in is what?
Approximately $224,000.
$224,000. Did you see that, Dee? Did you see that? $224,000. You could buy a house in Indiana for $224,000. That is just an HOA assessment. This is complete this is a form of, what is it? It's not extortion. There's another word I'm thinking of, but it is insanity.
Homeowners in Florida's, condo owners in Florida's, they are facing really trying times right now. And I think a lot of them are trying to sell their condos because they can't afford it. I mean, think about it. Mostly retired people are buying condos in Florida and they're on a fixed income. Who can afford those assessments?
Nobody.
And these rising assessment rates, they're just not affecting Florida. They are happening around the country. Take a look at Colorado. There's a community in Colorado that just slapped their residents with a $14,000 assessment fee for new roofs. The thing is, not everybody in the community is going to be getting a new roof. The reason why they're charging people $14,000 is because the money is actually going to build the reserves to help cover the insurance.
Right.
So apparently the roofs in this community have hail damage. Some of them do need to be repaired, and then they have to also prepare for future repairs when it happens again. So what they're doing is they're building reserves to help cover the difference of what the insurance companies won't cover.
Incredible.
So this is a big issue, and you've heard me talk about this a lot, about the insurance rates and, people losing their homeowners insurance because they have a damaged roof and the insurance company doesn't want to cover them anymore. So this is impacting the HOAs like immensely, and which is why the HOA monthly fees and these assessments keep going up, because they have to find a way to be able to pay for it. So they're passing it on to the homeowners. So this is a reason right here. I'm sorry. There's one reason I would not want to own a home in an HOA.
Never.
The next reason is restrictive rules, regulations, and those power-hungry HOA board members. Okay, no shade to the HOA members. Not every HOA is like that, but there's been a lot of stories recently about how these HOAs can get a little bit on their high horse and think that they can just rule the world. Let me take a step back. I know I said I would never buy a home in an HOA, but I have to confess here, I do own or did own 2 properties that were in HOA communities. One of them I just sold recently, another one I still own. It's a rental/vacation home that we own. Now, when we talk about restrictive rules and regulations, yeah, I have a problem with that. And this is a reason, this is my opinion, my feeling, my experience, but this is a reason the next house that I buy, I do not want to be in an HOA, because sometimes these rules and regulations do get a little out of hand. I encountered my own potential violation in a property that I owned. It was a rental property where I got a notice. You can see it right here. I got an email from the HOA saying that my tenants' lawn chairs were leaning against the side of the house and they needed to be removed. They needed to be either in the back of the house or put into the garage. But the problem at the time is I was building a deck on the back of the house. All the building materials were all laying in the backyard. So my tenants had to move their chairs and they just moved them onto the side of the house. It was temporary because the deck was only going to take a couple of days to be built. So when I got that email from the HOA, I responded quickly and explained to them, like, I'm building a deck, which, oh, by the way, you guys knew that because you had to approve all the plans for my deck to be built. You knew this was happening, yet here they go. They take a picture and they sent it to me and they said, you got to get these chairs out by a certain date or I was going to be fined. Well,
Do you know how hot I would be if I got an email like that from an HOA board? Do you know how angry I would be that they were wasting my time with something that trivial and ridiculous? I mean, but it does get worse. This is tame compared to the horror stories that we're about to hear this woman tell.
Well, guess what? You knew that I'm building a deck and the materials are all back there. And where else would you like them to be put? Because the garage was too tight. There was no room in there for my tenants because they had to fit their cars and the garbage cans and all the other things. So fortunately, it did work out because the deck was completed just in time before that deadline. But if it wasn't, oh, believe me, I would have gone back to them and just asked for a little bit of an extension, a little bit of grace period. But so things like that, they do get a little nutty. I understand the purpose of the rules and regulations, that they want to keep the community looking nice and neat, pristine. And I'm all for that. But when you're driving around, you're taking pictures, it's just, and you're, showing fix this problem or, you're going to be fined. No, thank you.
No.
I mean, we even had issues, and you heard me talk about this before, with garbage cans. The garbage cans not being put back into the house, within 2 seconds of the garbage being picked up.
Ridiculous.
And I had a big problem with that because, my tenants, they worked all day. Are you serious? You're going to give me a hard time? And they did notify me about that too, that the garbage cans weren't put back right away. And I hear this a lot in other communities where people are getting slapped at $250 fines because the garbage cans weren't put away right after pickup.
Are you serious?
Insane.
Yeah, it's a little excessive. I'm sorry. But take a look at this example here, what this guy has just gone through with his HOA.
My HVAC guy came by today to take a look at my units. He said, Matt, why do you have those grasses around the units? I said, the HOA requires me to have something around those units to guard them from the street so people can't see them. He said, you can't have those around that unit. Mess up the back pressure on them blower motors, tear up your units.
So yeah, this guy was told by his HOA that he needed to cover those AC units with ornamental grass.
Ornamental
the tall
grass
that you see in landscaping and you see in yards. It looks all pretty and everything, but you come to find out that's not a good thing to put near your AC unit, and it could potentially damage it. I understand you want to make things look nice and pretty, but make sure you understand what could potentially happen, if that's even a good idea to put the ornamental grass around the AC units. Yeah, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts with these restrictions and regulations. If you're not into that, I would be very leery about buying a home in an HOA.
Never.
Now, getting back to the topic of the power-hungry HOA board members, take a look at what happened with this guy because of his truck being too loud.
The HOA literally left me a fine. They said they could put a lien on my house if I don't pay this fine.
A lien.
So yeah, this guy was threatened a lien. They're going to put a lien on his house.
A lien on his house because his truck was too loud. A lien on his house. What the fuck is going on here on this day? What is going on? You see, this to me goes completely against the whole point of buying a home. Why is it that I should buy a home that belongs, I know it belongs to the bank until I pay off the loan, but why should I buy a home and have a bunch of strangers tell me what I can and cannot do on my own property within reason, all right? Within reason. We're not talking about like opening a gun range in the backyard or something crazy like that. We're talking about a truck. And they can put a fucking lien on your house. You see, this is the other problem. Nobody reads the fucking bylaws of these HOAs and they just sign everything. And the real estate agents may not, brief you on it. Maybe they don't know, or maybe they're trying to hide it from you because they're so desperate to get you to buy. But you have to be so careful, and that's why you should avoid HOAs at all costs. Who needs this aggro?
This is common. This has happened a lot around the country. I did a video about this a while ago where HOA boards were foreclosing on people's homes if they didn't pay any of the fines, if they missed their fee payments.
Foreclosing on the house.
There was a story I spoke about where there was a gentleman who was in the Air Force. He had to serve, he had to go overseas for like 15 months, and only to find out when he came back, he had $2,500 in missed payments of his HOA fees. They foreclosed on his property.
How the fuck? Now, somebody who knows something about real estate needs to explain to me, how in the world would anyone but a lender have the authority to foreclose on your house over $2,500 in HOA fees when the HOA fees are separate from the mortgage? They're separate. My HOA fee was separate from the mortgage. I had to pay it separately. How in the world is this possible? This is absolute insanity. What is the point of buying if some stranger can come along and foreclose on your house over something that is not related to your house payment? Unbelievable.
And they took over his house. Are you kidding me? Fortunately, state legislators are stepping up. They're trying to put laws into place to stop these HOA boards from being so excessive with their rules and taking over people's properties if they don't pay their fees. In some states, if an HOA is going to foreclose on a home, that does take precedent over the mortgage. So you could be paying your mortgage payments on time and you have no issue with the bank, but you haven't paid the HOA fees.
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. They can foreclose on your home.
How, though?
Fortunately, like I said, thank God, a lot of states are stepping up to take that control away from these HOA boards. It's completely unfair. It is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
And, yeah, another reason why. No, thank you. I wouldn't buy a house within an HOA.
No.
Like I said, I know I have one in an HOA right now. That'll be the last time I'm going to have one. I don't want to worry about that stuff. Another reason is the limited privacy.
That's the worst.
Did you know they can enter your property at any time? Like the property that I own that's in an HOA, they want to go in and check to make sure that my thermostat is set to a certain temperature in the wintertime to prevent pipes from freezing. Okay, I understand that. But I mean, I have people that live nearby. I can have them report back to them. They have the right to enter your property.
No, over my dead fucking body. Again, thank God my HOA in DC was not like this. But I have seen examples of homeowners with Ring cameras, and they have like this crazy Karen standing on the other side demanding to be let into the house, with a locksmith like opening the door of the house to barge into the house. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why would I allow a stranger into my home to check the thermostat or any other goddamn thing? Go fuck yourself. Absolutely no way. No way.
I was not happy about that. Had I known about that they had the right to do that, Yeah, I don't know if I would have bought that property. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. They do have the right. And going back to like, you're limited on the freedom of what you can do in your home. If you want to decorate things outside, you know, put flags up, you want to do like certain plantings in your landscaping, there's too much involved in your life and what you're doing. Yeah.
No way.
No, thank you. Another reason is the impact on property values. A study was done back in 2019 and it showed that homes that are within an HOA community, property values tend to increase slower
Of
than
course.
those homes that are not in an HOA community. And I think the reason being is that people do not want to buy a home so quickly that where you're going to have rules and regulations, and more importantly, that monthly HOA fee that
Right.
you're paying every month. And you can't even write that off. At least you can write off your interest on your mortgage. You can write off your property taxes. You can't write off the HOA fees.
Not a penny.
And if you're living in a community where the monthly fees are pretty excessive, you know, like in Florida, there are some places where they're $1,000 or more a
Right.
month. That could definitely turn people off. And then
That was actually one of the reasons after my uncle died that my aunt decided to leave Florida once and for all. It was the combination of the HOA fees and then Hurricane Rita was the last straw, and she said, "That's it. I'm out. I'm out. I can't take these hurricanes anymore. I'm by myself now. I'm too old for this shit." But she said that the fees had gotten so extortionately high. And again, they're not regulated. The homeowners association can continue jacking up those fees as much as they want for as long as they want. And it's awful. And it's true. You can't write them off. It's just an additional cost that you tack on that's not tax deductible, and you get screwed.
therefore impact the value of the home, because people are not going to be more apt to make an offer on the home, or to say if it's a seller's market, you may not get as many offers on a home in an HOA than you do on a home that's not in an HOA. I'm not saying that the values don't increase at all. They do. It's just not as much as if you were to have a home that's not in an HOA. That's something else I would be taking into consideration if you're going to be buying a home in an HOA. And again, that's a reason that I would not want to buy a home in an HOA.
Never.
Sorry. Again, I want to just reiterate that this is all information to help you make a good educated decision. I'm not telling you never buy in an HOA. If you need to buy a home in an HOA, it's like a lot of these HOA communities and these new builds, they're popping up all over the place. Please do the due diligence and read the CCRs. CCRs is known as covenants, conditions, and restrictions. Know what the rules and regulations
Absolutely.
are. It's all going to be spelled out in the CCRs. So if you want to fully understand that, of what you can and cannot do, that's the first thing you're going to be reading. The other thing you need to do is always read the financial reports. Read the minutes from prior HOA meetings
Right.
to see what's going on, what's happening in the community, what are some pressing issues in the community. Also, take a look at what the future assessments could be. Find out if there's any future assessments. Also take a look to see how much the HOA fees have gone up year over year, so you can prepare yourself for that increase. If one is going to happen after you move in, you're prepared of how much to budget for to be able to pay that increase in fees.
No way.
I'm not saying never, just giving you the cons of
I'm
this.
saying never.
Do what you will with this information, but I highly recommend that you always do your due diligence and read all of the documents, the bylaws, the CCRs, the financials, all the things before you sign those papers at the closing table. Hey, if you want to know what type of homes you should just never buy, watch this right here. Very informative. You're going to learn a lot.
She's terrific, and like I said, the link to her channel is in my description box. So just a little example. I have a couple of examples, actually. A friend of my mother's lived in a building in Chevy Chase that was very upscale, and the HOA went crazy, and they decided that they were going to take the reserves and they were going to remodel the lobby of the building. And they had picked some ridiculously expensive material like marble to line, to create new floors for the lobby. And it was going to cost a fortune, and they were going to put marble in the elevators and this and that. And the owners in the building, the condo owners, said no, it's a waste of money. We don't want that. And of course, the board went ahead and they did it, and everybody's fees went up, and everybody was very angry about it because it was unnecessary. It was totally unnecessary. It was a vanity project, and because those kinds of upgrades in a public space, a public part of the building, do not increase the value of your property. So why would you want to pay money to improve the lobby, the appearance of the lobby, when you don't live in the fucking lobby and it has nothing to do with your home? It's awful. My hairdresser in DC went through the same thing. She lives in a condo in Virginia. The HOA, or the condo board, decided that they were going to take the reserves and they were going to remodel the elevators and the lobby. And again, they were going to pick some ridiculously expensive material to do it. All the tenants or the owners said, no, we don't want it. And they fought like crazy. There was a huge conflagration between the owners and the members of the board. And the members of the board said, we don't give a shit what you want. We're going to spend the money on what we want. They have an enormous amount of power, and it's very aggravating. In my condo in DC, there were only 4 units in my building. And so basically every unit had an officer on the board. And so we got dragged to these stupid meetings, and I don't remember what my position was. It doesn't even matter. But we were sitting on a pretty big piece of land for a corner building in DC. But the problem was that there was no fencing or anything around it. And we had a very, very busy street on the side of the building, and people would drive by and they would throw trash out of their cars. And the trash would blow onto the lawn. So we were trying to figure out a way to keep the lawn clean. And so they decided that we had to put up some kind of a barrier to protect the land, right? Well, there was a question about what we were going to put up. And I said it would be really nice to do wrought iron or any kind of a gate, actually. Not chain link, obviously, but it would be nice to get a fence. And they thought that I was being sneaky because I own 2 dogs and that I just wanted to turn the lawn or the yard into a dog park. And I said, no, I just think it's a really practical solution. And they outvoted me, and they decided to do shrubbery. They wanted bushes. Well, in their wisdom, they went down to Home Depot or wherever, and they picked out these bushes. And it turned out that the girl who was assigned to go pick out the bushes picked out the wrong kind, because the sunlight that the bushes required to thrive was not available, and the bushes died. Well, not before I started an argument with these people on the board, and I said, it's going to cost more money to maintain those bushes because we're going to have to get landscapers. They're going to have to be planted professionally. They're going to have to be trimmed. We're going to have more money that we spend on keeping them looking nice and all of that. And they were like, no, we're going to do it ourselves. They decided that they were going to plant these bushes around the property. And I thought, well, that's a bad idea because they don't know anything. These people were not landscapers. They weren't gardeners. They didn't know anything. Right? But they decided they were going to do it. So an attempt was made to dig the holes to put the bushes in, and then that failed. So they had to bring a professional in. They planted the bushes, and within 1 season, they were all dead. So it was a colossal waste of money. And if they had just put in any kind of a fence, it would have been a better option. It would have kept the trash off the lawn, and it would have looked nicer, and it would have required no maintenance. We wouldn't have had to bring a guy in to trim them or to fertilize them or to take care of them, because of course they have to be watered and they have to be looked after. And it's not Versailles, for God's sake. It's not like there were permanent gardeners on staff. But that's the kind of thing that bothered me. It's like, okay, you people are voting on how to spend money that I'm paying unwillingly, because the only thing that the HOA fee covered was mowing the lawn, snow removal, trash removal, and water. Now, I would have been happy to pitch in a couple of bucks for a kid to push a lawnmower around the yard. I was more than happy to pay my own water bill. And then, for trash pickup, sure, we can all pitch in. But it was like $265 a month, for which we got nothing. And the reserves were all blown on these stupid shrubs that all ended up croaking. It was ridiculous. So that's when I made a decision that I would never live in a building with an HOA again, because they have too much of a say over how the money is spent. And it can be spent on frivolous, ridiculous things where nobody's putting any thought into it. I mean, these people that lived in my building were all lawyers, you know. They worked on the Hill. They worked for trade associations. These people were not... These people were like all eggheads who were not cut out to, you know, maintain a property. Why would they be? I mean, that's what you hire a professional for. But it was just very, very frustrating, very, very annoying. So I would strongly, strongly advise everyone to stay away from HOAs unless, I mean, if you want to, you know, give a total stranger free reign to spend your money, then I'm sure that there are plenty of ways you can do that. But why would you do that with your own home? It's crazy. All right, you guys, I am so pleased that you guys were here with me today. Thanks again, and thank you for the new memberships. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys the next time.